Alright, hi and welcome to the third video for the Ticket Out the Doors, the content between Exam 1 and Exam 2 for Math 127. Next date we're going to look at is March 5th, and the first problem is a simplify. So similar like what we just got done doing, cosecant of x minus cotangent of x over secant of x minus 1. So this is what? It's one term. Everything is not sine and cosine. Actually, nothing is. So let's convert it. So cosecant is 1 over sine. Cotangent is cosine of x over sine of x. Secant is 1 over cosine of x. And then minus 1. So I'm going to convert it to the same denominator as this. So 1 is like cosine of x over cosine of x. Now, one way to do this, find the LCD, multiply everything by the LCD, simplify it from there. This one, though, is one of the few cases it works nicely because of the values that we were given. Just combine the numerator, combine the denominator, keep, change, flip. Because the numerator already has sine as its denominator. So I just do 1 minus cosine for the numerator. And then the bottom, cosine is the denominator, and I have 1 minus cosine as the numerator. So if I keep the numerator, change it to multiplication, and flip the denominator, cosine of x over 1 minus cosine, well, what happens? This guy cancels with that one, so I'm just left with cosine of x over sine of x, which is cotangent of x. So it was what? 1 step convert it, 2 steps combine it, 3 steps keep, change, flip, and cancel out and simplify. So again, just a couple of steps there. All right, number 2. So, write as an expression, I know what he's talking about. This is what? This is build a triangle in just x. And what we're given is sine of 2 cosine inverse of x. So this is our final type of build a triangle. The idea is still the same, only the inverse part gets labeled theta. So theta is cosine inverse of x. So cosine of theta is x over 1. Take cosine of both sides. Build your triangle. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. The leg always has the minus, so 1 minus x squared. Rewrite the original. Sine of 2 theta. I keep stressing, when you see sine of 2 something, cosine of 2 something, that needs to scream in your head, double angle. So I'm looking for the double angle in this case. My double angle for sine is what? It's 2 sine of theta cosine of theta. So it's 2 times sine of theta is the square root part over 1. So just 1 minus x squared, square root. Cosine of theta is x over 1. So if I clean this up, it's just 2 times x times 1 minus x squared. So that is our answer for number 2. Sorry, number 2. I'm looking at number 3. All right, and then last one for this date is sort of our tricky wording one, but I want you to know this. It's if alpha and beta are acute angles. So acute means what? Less than 90. Where are angles less than 90? Quadrant 1. So alpha and beta are both in quadrant 1. So if they're both acute angles and sine of alpha is 4/5 and cosine of beta is 5/13, find the following. A, what is sine of alpha plus beta? B, what is cosine of alpha plus beta? And C, what is sine of beta over 2? So for A, again, two mistakes to watch out for. This is not sine of alpha and sine of beta add them together. This is our sum and difference. So this is going to be sine of alpha times cosine of beta plus sine of beta times cosine of alpha. So for these, I'm going to need to build a triangle with both of these. My alpha triangle, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So 4 and 5. So the bottom of this triangle is 3. It's one of my Pythagorean triples. For beta, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. It's another triple, my 5, 12, 13. So now I can figure out these values. Sine of alpha, well, it was given to me, 4/5. Cosine of beta was given to me, 5/13. Sine of beta, 12/13. Cosine of alpha, 3/5. So again, if I've done these right, the denominator should be the same. So the first term, if I multiply them, is 20 over 65. The second one, 36 over 65. 20 plus 36 is 56. So your answer is 56 over 65. Cosine of alpha plus beta is cosine alpha, cosine beta, minus sine of alpha, sine of beta. And if in this problem, if you write this out, so I told you the one error was distributing the sign, you don't do that. If you also do this, sine of 4/5, cosine of 5/13, etc., I am going to take points off. Because sine of 4/5 is not 4/5. Sine of alpha is 4/5. So when you make that change in the number, the trig function has to go away. And if you put sine of 4/5, cosine of 5/13, first of all, you're probably not going to be able to solve it from there, so you know you did something wrong. But if you have that notation, I will be taking points off. This is not correct notation. So here, cosine of alpha is 3/5. Cosine of beta, 5/13, minus sine of alpha, 4/5, sine of beta, 12/13. So this is 15 over 65 minus 48 over 65 is negative 33 over 65. Now last but not least, our half angle. So, sine, well, we're in quadrant 1, told us acute angle, so we know it's going to be positive. The formula is 1 minus cosine of beta all over 2. Everything is under the radical symbol. So what is cosine of beta? It was given to us, 5/13. So this is 1 minus 5/13 over 2. So 1 is like 13 over 13, so 13 minus 5 is 8. So I have square root of 8/13 divided by 2. So keep change flip, you get 8 over 26. And divide both of those by 2 is square root of 4/13. You don't have to simplify it further than that. You don't have to take out the 2 and then rationalize the root 13. If you just leave it as square root of 4/13, that's fine. All right, so that was that one. March 10th, our next day of ticket out the door problems. So the first one is our boat problem again. So two boats leave the port at the same time. The first boat is north 45 degrees east at 8 miles per hour. go is south 75 degrees east at 6 miles per hour. How far apart in 1 hour? So again, we got to draw our picture. We know it's law of cosines, and the angle has to touch the y-axis. So we get what? First picture is this way the 45 has to touch, meaning, well, let me leave that first, 8 miles per hour. The second one is 75 degrees east, south 75 degrees east. So the picture looks like that. The angles have to touch the y-axis. So inside here is 45, 90 minus 45. Inside here, 90 minus 75 is 15. So the entire angle between these two is 60 degrees. And again, this one was 6 miles per hour. So we're trying to find this. And sorry, I'm just checking. Battery's getting low here. I'm going to try to hurry. So we get what? X squared is equal to 6 squared plus 8 squared minus 2 times 6 times 8 cosine of 60. Well, cosine of 60 is a half, so that cancels out with the 2. So I have x squared is 36 plus 64 minus 48. So 36 plus 64 is 100, minus 48 is 52. So x squared is 52, so x is equal to square root of 52, and if you simplify it to 2 root 13, that's fine. I don't necessarily expect you to do that. Number 2, again, sorry, these are a little fast. Battery's dying on me here. I want to make sure I get them all in for you. So, we're given an equation, 2 sine squared of x minus 3 sine of x minus 2 is 0. So we want all the solutions and the solutions on the interval. You can change these out to x if you want. If you just factor it with the sine function, that's fine as well. But you should get 2 sine of x and sine of x, and then 2, 1 minus plus. So if you did this as 2x plus 1, x minus 2, that's fine. Use zero property rule. 2 sine of x plus 1 is 0. So 2 sine of x is negative 1. Sine of x is negative 1/2. So where on the unit circle? The entire unit circle is sine equal to negative 1/2. That's 7 pi over 6 and 11 pi over 6. Because part A wants all solutions, so that's 2 pi k plus 2 pi k. And for this one, sine of x minus 2 is 0. So sine of x equals 2. There's nowhere on the unit circle that sine of x is equal to 2, so this one gives us nothing. So this would be our answer for part A, all the solutions. And then B asks for just on the interval 0 to 2 pi, so it's just the two values that we found to begin with, 7 pi over 6 and 11 pi over 6. All right, and last one, hopefully, come on battery, hold on me here. So last one from the 12th, March 12th. It's another solving equation. We have cosine of 2 theta plus cosine of theta is equal to 0. So these are not the same trig function. Again, I gave you guys those sort of 4 steps to look for. We have a substitution we can make. This is my double angle. Cosine of 2 something, double angle. So we get what? 2 cosine squared theta minus 1 plus cosine of theta is 0. Move the pieces around so it looks more normal to what we're used to seeing. This guy will factor into 2 cosine, 1 and 1, and plus minus. So this one, 2 cosine of theta minus 1 is 0. 2 cosine of theta is 1. cosine of theta is a positive half. Where is cosine of theta positive half? That's at pi over 3. 5 pi over 3, it asks for all solutions. So add the multiplier, the 2 pi k in there. And from this one, cosine of theta plus 1 is 0. Cosine of theta is negative 1. Where on the whole unit circle is cosine equal to negative 1? Only at pi. So your answer is pi plus 2k pi. So it would be these three here as your answers. Again, I know I really rushed through those last couple. Hopefully, what do we got time on it? 3 minutes? Yeah, hopefully you get it. If nothing else, pause the video as I go, slow it down a little bit. But as long as you see the steps, hopefully you can see how you get it. And if not, you know, ask me on review day, like, hey, you were flying there. I'm not really sure why you got this value, and I'll try to explain it then. Other than that, you have all the problems. I hope you guys know these things down pat. I want you guys to crush this exam too. So we'll see you guys after spring break. I hope you have a good one.